yeah,
Are we back?
Just saw them
We
this
are back.
summer live.
Rob and Slim Show, we're back with Brian Bernhard.
Yeah. How's it going?
Good. How you doing, man? Thank
Pretty
you.
good.
And you're an award-winning producer and director?
Yeah, so they tell me.
What have you done that we might know?
It depends on the market that you're in. I was in New York for a while, about 10 years or so, producing television for PBS, interviewing thousands of artists in New York City and talking to them about why they do what they do and making weird stuff.
Cool, man. Cool. What?
Yeah, so I wanted an Emmy for doing that stuff, and then moved out to California to continue making more weird stuff out here.
What's the weirdest stuff you made?
Oh, what's the weirdest stuff I made? Oh, that's hard, man. That's going back a long time. So yeah, I was in a rock band called Things Outside the Skin for a while in New York, where I would dress up like a live-action cartoon character and play bass and make fun of people. It was pretty good.
Nice.
I've made a documentary series that you guys contacted me through called The Fool's Idea.
Yes.
Where I basically interviewed hundreds of eccentric performing artists, physical comedians, clowns, jugglers, weirdos from all over the world.
Cool, cool. And what do? You just pick their brain, like, to see why they do what they do?
Pretty much. It's just sort of like I've done that. That project is a short documentary format as well as a longer format podcast. And the short documentary is, a little like a 5 to 10 minute long profile about a specific incredible artist who does amazing things and showcases the crazy stuff that they do. And the podcast is hanging out with an artist for an hour or so, just, having a conversation like we're doing now, just figuring out why they do the weird shit they do. I've interviewed some pretty amazing, pretty weird, pretty eccentric people, and they're just naturally interesting to talk to.
Cool. What's your favorite interview you've done?
I'd say I think my favorite interview is probably going to be the Reggie Watts interview that I did.
I did hear some of that. That was cool.
Just because it was so one, I'm a huge fan of his. He's a really cool guy, but the interview itself was incredibly surreal. I prefer to do my interviews at the artist's studio or location or the place where they're most comfortable, because I feel like the interviews can become a little bit more intimate that way, as opposed to having them come into a studio or something. So in this case, I ended up going back and forth with Reggie Watts' people for a little while, and then I ended up going to what I thought at the time was his house. And so I'm hanging out in this neighborhood, and I get a call from his people saying he's going to be like an hour late because he was shooting a TV show. He's like, all right, that's, So I'm sitting in his neighborhood in my car out front of, this celebrity's house by myself, looking like the creepiest stalker in the world, as his neighbors walk back and forth, and they all, like, I'm sitting there literally just in my car for an hour because I had nowhere else to go. And people are out walking their dogs, and they're just like staring at me. I'm sure somebody's thinking about calling 911 or something. Which I don't blame them, because I look creepy as shit just sitting in a car lurking about a celebrity's house. And
that happens to me when I'm sitting in front of my own house.
Dan pulls up next to my car and rolls down the window. Is like, "Hey Brian, that you?" And it was Reggie, like, in his car. It's like, "Hop in the car. We're gonna go down the hill and around the corner for a second." And so I hop in his sedan. He drives around the corner to the back side of this house that we were in, and then this big gate opens, and we walk into this gate, and I'm doing the interview, or we're going up to this door, and it's like this little tiny door in the backyard of this big house, like that was unexpectedly big from the other side. Like hot tubs in the yard.
So it was bigger than you saw, than you thought.
Do I?
Like you only saw part of it. You didn't realize it was that big.
Yeah.
Something I never heard
exactly,
because
it was like a house on a mountain. So where I was parked, all I saw was like this little one-story ranch place. And then when we get to the backside of the mountain, I saw that it goes down like another 3 floors.
Wow!
It's like
holy shit!
It's a 3-story joint. And then we go into this little door in the back, and we end up going into this like little room. It was like a little efficiency, and we're just hanging out in this little efficiency, and walking around checking out, like he's got like the same, like all the comic books that I got just strewn about, like messy joint, just like total just like bachelor pad crash spot.
These guys are familiar.
I was gonna say
the nerdiest comic books and shit, and that made me like him even better. And then we sit down and do the interview, and there's nowhere else to really do it in this little efficiency, so we're sitting on his bed together. Like, I feel like I'm having this weird romantic moment with Reggie Watts, but I'm just trying to interview him.
That's so weird.
It was the weirdest thing ever, because it was like 9:00 at night, and so we're just having this like conversation with 2 microphones on his bed. It's like Reggie Watts is like, I mean, this guy's the band leader for the James Corden show right now. It's like he's huge.
Wow.
And I'm sitting on his bed in his bedroom.
You
like,
figured he'd have a
table.
Yeah. And how can he afford? He's got a 5-story house.
Yeah, right.
to put like a little bit of a cherry on top of the story, like I hear this like little yippy dog in another room in the house, like barking. Like yip yip yip, and I'm like, like whose dog is that? He's like, you didn't know that this is Natasha Leggero's house. I'm just crashing with her. For a few
that explains the 5-story house.
And like, I was just at the Comedy Store like the day before, watching her perform, and holding that dog on stage, and I had no idea I was at her house.
He just gets the laundry room.
Yeah, basically that's like apparently her comedian friends like get to crash in her little extra room there when they're in town doing.
Oh wow!
She just doesn't let him have a table. She doesn't want him to stay that long.
Funny. I mean, like we had this little tiny room and it basically fit a bed. And it was like a bed and a bathroom, and that was it. It was pretty incredible. But yeah, she's apparently really cool to her comedian friends.
Kato Kalin got his own pet.
Yeah. Oh man, how long have you been doing A Fool's Idea for?
I started A Fool's Idea, the documentary portion of it, back in 2010. I was doing it as a project in grad school, and it kind of developed in a weird, random fashion. But that and the first episode of the documentary portion of it was like a midterm project in grad school, and then it just kind of took a life of its own, from making one connection to another connection to people writing in saying they wanted to be part of it, and it just kind of kept growing, and it kept getting more and more content. And and I tried to basically stay on top of it as much as I could, but being a sort of one man band guerrilla, artist producer, because there's not a whole lot of budget for interviewing eccentric weirdos. I've yet to be able to find good sponsorship.
I was going to ask. We haven't found any either.
So yeah, it's hard to stay. But I still have about 10 podcast interviews and about 50 documentary interviews that are still unedited that I haven't released just because I haven't had the time to do it.
Wow, yeah, it's got to be a lot, man, doing it that long, and that's a great thing to just say to see that you've done it that long.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't released anything new for a little while, just because of other things coming up. But the project is definitely not dead.
That's cool.
It's I got some just really good stuff in the can, and as soon as I have the time or the money to finish making it, then I'll get it out there as soon as I can. But I got like interviews with Doug Jones. Are you familiar with Doug Jones?
Who's that?
Doug Jones.
Doug Jones is this brilliant actor who's almost played just about every monster in every movie, and TV show that you can think of. He was one of the main aliens in a show called Falling Skies.
Okay.
He was actually played two characters in Pan's Labyrinth.
Wow, I love that movie.
Every character, every monster in every Guillermo del Toro movie basically is like that monster.
He was
Abe Sapien in the Hellboy movies.
Yes.
I know a really crazy story about that. Like originally it was the guy that show Frasier that played his brother did the voice of him, and he just played the monster. He figured out how to copy his voice perfectly, and they just had him do it.
Actually, I do have the scoop. It's in. I spent an hour with Doug talking to him about this stuff because he has a background as a mime. Like his first gig in performance world was that of a white face, white glove mime.
Wow.
That's what he used to do, and he eventually I don't know if you guys remember. There was a famous McDonald's commercial in the 80s with a character called Mac Tonight.
Yes!
That was Doug Jones' first commercial gig.
Wow. I still watch it every now and then on YouTube. I love the Mac Tonight commercial.
He's an amazing guy, and I have a brilliant interview where he goes into all this detail about this stuff that I've actually not released yet. Just because I've been holding on to it until I can come back with the show in a big way and put a lot more into it. Nice. But it's a really amazing interview with some stuff that he's never talked about before ever.
That's cool.
But the story with the Hellboy thing is he was actually cast in the film to play Abe Sapien. It was Guillermo del Toro is a big fan of Doug Jones, and Doug Jones shot the entire movie and performed the entire movie, using his voice. And then the studio execs decided that they wanted to have the Frasier guy's voice in there, so the Frasier guy's voice dubbed him in. It was he did the voiceover, and that even though he did a good job of it, that clearly didn't sit well with a lot of people, and Guillermo del Toro wasn't super happy with how that all went down, even though he liked the performance. There was nothing wrong with Doug's, and then Doug had his contracts changed so that would never happen again.
Wow.
With the voice swapping thing.
Was he the voice on Fallen Skies?
If you listen to the follow-up Hellboy movie, Hellboy 2, it's Doug Jones's voice. It's a different voice than the first one.
Craig had a question for you real quick, Brian.
This wasn't even the one question I wanted to ask. I have a clown question too, but I was going to ask, was he, because I was a big fan of the show Fallen Skies, he was Cochise. Was he the voice or just the body and the movement acting part?
He was all of it, yeah.
He was all of it?
And body and everything, yeah.
Because that's another show.
Since that movie, it's always been his voice.
Wow.
Oh, you said that he changed his contract.
Mm.
Well, it was the Hellboy movie and also the Fantastic Four movie with
Silver
Surfer.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
I'm on his IMDb
he was
page.
Silver Surfer, but he got dubbed in by another actor. It was I think it was the guy from The Matrix that dubbed him in.
Yeah, it was Lawrence Fishburne, I think.
Lawrence Fishburne, yeah. Lawrence Fishburne dubbed him in, and it was those two movies, combined, decided to make him change. He decided to change his contract because of that.
Wow. What question did you have, Craig?
My question is because you did a lot of things with clowns, right? You did
sure.
Some of your documentaries are all about clowns, right?
Yeah, a fool's idea runs the gamut, but there are a lot of a lot of clowns that fall into that category.
Right. I was just stalking your IMDb page too. So, but my question is that with all this recent outbreak of clown activity and people dressing up like them and even getting shot and killed as a result, what's your thought? Being that you've hung out and talked to clowns over the years and done all these documentaries, what would your insight be? What do you think about all this?
So the clown arts goes way back. It's actually the oldest form of entertainment that there.
Well, I think prostitution is close second.
Yeah, well, outside of eating, sleeping, and shitting, it's like it goes well beyond any American circus stuff or birthday party stuff that most people are familiar with.
Oh yeah, the court jester.
The court jester, the trickster clown. Shakespeare had clowns. Asian, Chinese culture had their own form of clown. African tribes, Native Americans, they all had their own form of clown that developed completely separate from one another. So there's some sort of like natural instinct or gravitational pull to like human culture and this type of performance with a character that can speak to power, that reminds people that they're human, that can sort of exist above any laws or royalty, can speak to the king, that sort of thing. So those are the things that the clown was always able to do. Now, like these the characters that are the people that are putting on masks and jumping around and scaring people, they're essentially just adrenaline junkies that wouldn't affect if they put on any mask. Even a ski mask and jumped out at people, it would scare the crap out of them. Right. Like it has nothing to do with the character that they're donning. They just think it's funnier because there's sort of a tongue-in-cheek thing. I mean, the fact of the matter is the clown character is an incredibly powerful character, and it's kind of like a superhero. With great power comes great responsibility. Right. So like
Spider-Man.
So like. You have people like Sacha Baron Cohen who are professionally trained clowns, like Sacha Baron Cohen, like the Borat and Ali G show. Like he trained in theater clowning. Like that's
I never knew that. Wow, I never knew that. Dude.
Like the same goes for Penn Jillette. Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller. Like he is a graduate of Ringling Brothers Clown College.
Wow.
He started out as a juggler, I believe.
And really? The same was Steve-O as well from Jackass.
Yeah. Wow.
Really?
Trained clown. Like, wow. These people are really amazing performers who are like some of the most disciplined, funny people that you'll ever meet in your entire life. And like those people are what clown is.
Right.
Like, and this the weird craze is unfortunate. Like I generally have never had a problem with scary clowns. Like I think it was a relatively decent movie. I love Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Oh, that movie's great. That's a great movie. That's a great movie.
Like I personally have never had problem with these sorts of things, but like there is a phenomenon that's happened going all the way back to the 70s
and a phobia.
This choleraphobia thing. And it's actually before John Wayne Gacy. So like people blame John Wayne Gacy, the serial killer, as where the root of Scary Clown comes from. That's not actually the case. Like it goes even before that to where there was a phenomenon in England where in the 70s, people would call the police. They were calling the police like crazy for about a 3-month period of time, reporting that there were scary clowns lurking around their house, their neighborhood, their windows, and people were just freaking out, like over these scary clowns. And this is back in the 70s, early 70s.
Yeah.
My mom's been afraid of clowns since she was like 5 years old.
Jules, my girlfriend is. She's
that's what I say. It's a clear phobia. That's named phobia.
Most people aren't actually afraid of clowns. So what they're afraid of are an unrecognizable face or a mask and the person behind it. Like it has nothing to do with the actual clown character.
Maybe that's my wife's problem with me.
Because the circus clown makeup highlights the features of the face so people can read it from a distance. So the phenomenon that was happening in England in the 70s was people were calling in all these reports, and in every instance, when the police came out to check on what was actually lurking about this person's house, it was generally a homeless person walking around the neighborhood. It was just a homeless person. It had nothing to do with the clown, but from a distance, under dark lighting, the big circles and the shadow under the mouth caused people's eyes to play tricks on them, and they decided that it must be a clown.
Well, then they always had those homeless clowns too.
There are
that were kind of like a parody off homeless people. Yeah,
well,
like Red Skeleton, that guy.
Skeleton.
Yeah, Skeleton. Yeah,
Skeleton. That's Jack.
Skeleton.
Jack Skellington.
Yeah.
I do love Jack Skellington.
Jack Skellington.
Yeah, I mean, well, you have the Trent clown, which was sort of
that's
brought to fame by Emmett Kelly, who was one of the, at the time when Emmett Kelly was popular, he was one of the most famous entertainers in the world, who was like a very famous American circus clown. It became an iconic image because he was just that good. He was that good of a performer. People absolutely loved him, and and you have people that try to duplicate that or try to replicate what he did, and they're just not as good of a performer. and so it doesn't read as well. It becomes like cliche and weird and cheesy and like in the 80s you had like a huge surge of people birthday party clowns because they thought it was a cheap, easy form of kids entertainment.
I actually wanted. I'm sorry because we got to wrap this up soon, but I did have one question. The one thing that bugs the hell out of me is like these. I want to call them like dollar store clowns, where and Patton Oswalt does a great bit on these guys, where it's a dude that shows up to a party and he's got like a dot painted on his face. And he all he can make is like a sword. Like he can't even do balloon animals. He can just make a sword. Like what is the deal with these guys? And we talked to one. We actually had this girl named Crystal, and that's what she was. She would show up to kid parties. She just had a heart painted on her face, and she would do face makeup. And she could make Spider-Man.
She could lure me into the woods.
So like, what is the deal with these guys?
Well, I mean, they're. It's like you have amazing vocalists, like the divas of the world, your Mariah Careys, or the people that like are held up at the top of their game, and they're amazing. And then you have karaoke bars.
You got karaoke slam.
Yeah, you got me.
So it's just like like they're just not.
They're shitty clowns, is what
good.
they are.
It's not. It's like people that are untrained and think it's an easy gig. They think it's an easy thing to do.
Right.
So they try to do it, and there's these agencies that will book performers to do character stuff. If they know how to paint a face, they can throw on clown makeup and go to a party. But it really has nothing to do with real clowning. But I do know that there are some really good clowns who also like do the birthday party stuff. Like there are some clowns in big Cirque du Soleil shows and like big huge Broadway shows that have become famous all over the world, who started off as birthday party clowns.
Yeah, bread and butter, man. They're gonna make a living.
Right. I mean, it can be a great show. It can be a great form of entertainment if a performer can connect with a group of kids in an intimate situation like that, then they can translate that to bigger and bigger audiences. It's like that's a hard audience to win. If you can win that audience,
we actually got to
probably win Broadway if you keep doing it, but you got to train. And there's
listen, I'm sorry to
beyond that training.
I'm sorry to cut
Brian,
you off.
we have to wrap this up, dude.
We gotta wrap it up.
Where can everybody find you?
Well, you can find me in my weird brand of bizarre art at brianabernhard.com, or you can find the documentary project A Fool's Idea at afoolsidea.com. So
awesome, dude. Thank you for talking
to
us.
Facebook, Twitter, all the social medias, Instagram. There's all kinds of stuff there, and we roll stuff out as often and as frequently as possible.
Awesome, man. Good talking to you.
Well, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having me on your show, guys.
Thanks for coming on, man.
Right. Have a good one, man.
Rock on.
Cool. Later, dude.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
We'll be back.